Well, good morning. Good morning, everybody in Rhode Island. Thank you for joining us. And if you're listening to this afterwards in a recording, thank you for downloading the recording. We're excited that you could be here, share some time with us, and talk about digital assets and learn from some experiences from a Rhode Island success story, a Rhode Island exporter, as well as the helping hand that you have at the Chaffee Center. So, welcome and thank you for your time today. So we're going to be talking about your exports and sort of tools to help you grow those exports in today's world. While the last of you are logging on, let's introduce ourselves today. We are really delighted and thank you very, very much, Cecilia and Ben. Cecilia Perotto is the Associate Director for the International Trade Developments at the Chaffee Center for International Business, Bryant University. Thank you very much. The Bryant University and this whole trade development, the Chaffee Center is such a tremendous asset for Rhode Island companies. There's lots of things that you can reach out and get. They organize a lot of events, a lot of reach outs, learn-ins, and things like that for exporters. So we're delighted that Cecilia could be here. And Benjamin Weinstein is the STEP Grant Director. That is an important person to know if you're looking for your STEP grants and any helping hand on finance for your exports. And Ben is going to talk to us a little bit about that. The timing is really good because the new cycle for STEP grants has just started. We're super excited as well to have Bob. Robert Cooper is the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer for Small Tap Inc., a Rhode Island company in the healthcare sector, in the medical device sector. And he's going to share some of his experiences, both with growing his business, being based in Rhode Island, using digital tools like websites, accessing funds, and so on. So, Bob, Robert, thank you so much for joining us today and that. And then myself, my name is Susanna. I'm Chief Content Officer at IBT Online. And IBT Online, well, we're a private company. We're based, our head office is in Florida, and we are what's known as a digital marketing agency. We're a full stack digital marketing agency. And we're really, really known for two attributes that separate us from the crowd. One is that we're very focused on small mid-cap companies. So that's hopefully that's you. And we're very focused on the international. So again, exporters, that is our wheelhouse. We help exporters, companies looking to go internationally using online tools. And we've designed a series of programs called the Online Global Programs, which are there to help these companies. And they're very much structured around also the STEP grants, which Ben will talk about. So they're designed to be able to be accessed for companies, for small mid-cap companies, using STEP grants if they need them, or if they're eligible for them, and to help them with websites for e-commerce, for online marketing, and so on. We're also really, really proud that we signed a strategic partnership with U.S. Commercial Service. So U.S. Commercial Service has chosen IBT Online to be their strategic partner for e-commerce. Us and Amazon, go figure. So that allows us also to have a lot of assets and resources from U.S. Commercial Service as well, which help our clients. That's what we do it for. Our agenda today, we're going to ask Cecilia and Ben to talk a little bit about the Chaffee Center, the resources available, the STEP grants, and then I'm just going to loop back and give some very, very broad overall picture of the online world today. And then we're going to ask Robert to talk about Small Tap, about their experiences in exporting, in growing their business, and sort of who they're selling to, and so on. The second half of the webinar is very much, we try to make it as practical as possible, as focused as possible for you to have takeaways which are practical, like in your pocket stuff. So I'm going to be talking about some digital tools that you can use right now. And we thought we'd really focus on some of the pain points we see exporters having. That's distributors, managing distributors, finding distributors, trade shows, how to make the most of them, and some easy wins for you if you're just starting out on this journey. feel free to add lots of questions in the chat box. We realize you've got a busy day. We realize you're building your own companies. Take the time now. You've carved an hour out of your day. Put away the other screen. Put away your emails. Sit back with a cup of coffee. Put your questions in, and take the time to ask the questions you never had time to ask before. So let's just start then with asking Cecilia to talk a little bit about, and Ben to talk a little bit about the Chaffee Center. Cecilia.
Thank you, Susanna. Thank you so much for putting this together. And thank you to all the people that are joining us today. I had a few questions even before I logged in. What we do here at the Chaffee Center, we are the Export Assistance Center of Rhode Island. So people come to us with basic questions, first-time exporters, but also people that have been exporting for a long time and they want to grow a certain territory or they launch a different line of products and they need to expand their exports. So we help with market entry analysis, strategic entry to a geographic territory or a country. We help with all the intelligence in the back, as well as some very practical things, for example, people that need clients overseas or buyers or distributors or partners. We solve issues like if people are not, we help solve issues. If people don't get payment or if their cargo is stuck in customs, things like that. So we always have different things that we're working on, and no day is the same as the previous day. It's always very exciting to work with, for the most part, manufacturers, innovators, small businesses, medium-sized businesses. It's for anybody that loves trade, this is a perfect place to be. And for people that are exploring this for the first time, just pick up the phone and call me. And Ben has more specific information about a great resource for companies, the STEP fund, the STEP grant offer funds for exporting activities. So Ben, would you like to expand on that?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Cecilia, and thank you for Susanna for putting this together. So my name is Benjamin Weinstein. I'm the STEP Grant Director and Budget Manager for the Chaffee Center. We manage the STEP Grant, which is the State Trade Expansion Program grant put on by the SBA. So that's really to help small businesses export and expand into new markets. We provide reimbursements for different projects such as participation in trade shows, trade missions, export marketing support, different U.S. commercial services. Specifically today, we'll talk about the export marketing support aspect, just because of the content that we're going to be talking about today with IBT Online and Robert Cooper here. But just under the STEP program, the export marketing support that the SBA is looking for is website development, which can be anything from search engine optimization, translation services on your website, localization for certain markets, setting up e-commerce platform fees, and really anything in between for website development. It's really helping you develop an internationally focused website where people in other markets can visit you and can end up buying or purchasing your product online. Next, we have the design of international marketing media. So this is what you bring to different trade shows, different trade events, things that you can publish on your social media to help you market your company. STEP focuses on the international development of your company, and it only reimburses you for the design costs. So unfortunately, it won't reimburse you for the publishing or printing of any marketing media, but any design cost, any projects like that, STEP would help you reimburse. And then last but not least, we have consultancy services, like these were mentioned a little bit by Cecilia. We have market research, business-to-business matchmaking, and things of that nature. So please feel free to reach out to Cecilia or myself. You can send us an email, you can call us, you can find our STEP application and the relevant forms on our website, along with more information. So please feel free to reach out. But thank you guys.
Ben, just before I pass over to Robert, I wondered, just one more quick question that actually has come in. Can you double dip? Can you, if you have STEP grant one year, can you reapply the next year? or is that,
Yes.
is it a one time only, or can you apply several times?
You can apply for multiple STEP grants. Right now, we actually just started our next STEP grant, STEP 12. So this is the perfect time to apply for the grant and also submit a request for a certain project. Under these grant guidelines, companies can submit up to 10 different projects or a maximum of $15,000. So for these export marketing projects, a company could submit a $5,000 project for search engine optimization. They could submit another $5,000 project to design their website to focus on the international development of it. And then they could do one $5,000 project for market research. So it really, companies
Wow,
can be
very
creative
flexible.
with how they use the funds.
Very flexible. Fantastic. Just one last thing as well. Is it a first come, first served thing,
Yes.
or is it, okay,
Yeah, we operate on a first come, first serve basis. Like I said, we just opened our new grant, so it will be pretty competitive. I've already gotten a couple applications in, so I would recommend to any companies to
right.
get on it. If you have any trade shows, trade missions, you want to start a project like this, start it today. Reach out to one of us, and we can definitely help you along with the process.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ben. I think there'll be some more questions as well on that. Right.
I would like
I'm
to add something very quickly
great.
that people say, well, if I'm going to spend the funds in 10 months from now, can I apply now? And the answer is yes, you apply now, and you can spend it. You have 2 years, right? Starting in September, Ben, to spend the money. So it's never too early. Secure those
Excellent. 10 months
funds
is going to be
in.
gone.
Right. Yes. And
Okay.
it is first time, first serve. So don't wait. Thank you.
Good to know. Good to know. So get it in now. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Cecilia. Right. I thought I'd give you just a couple of sort of overview stats before handing over to Robert. Just really talking about from a digital marketing company, what we mean when we talk about digital tools, what we're looking at, what we see coming down the track as well. And you know, we're all talking about AI, but it's hitting the online marketing world very fast, very fully. And it's an amazing enabler, especially for small mid-cap companies. I'll talk about that a little bit later as well, about exactly how AI can be used to help productivity, especially. The other one is e-commerce. This is absolutely coming on like a wave. And I don't mean the sort of B2C, business to consumer, where you buy your shoes or, pullovers or something. B2B e-commerce is incredibly demanded right now. And it doesn't have to be a scary full e-commerce experience where you have payment gateways and shipping, but increasingly we're seeing B2B companies wanting to have some kind of e-commerce enablement. So for example, picking up things and saying, how much would it be to, it's a request a quote basically, I'll have one of these, two of these. If I had to take 10 of those, what would that cost me? And how long could it be? So it's a very interactive, think of it as a sales qualified lead. Again, I'll talk about that later. Other things that are coming very much to the fore, data privacy and compliance. And what I would say is, please don't ignore it. It is here. It's a strong thing, and it is being enforced, including for U.S. companies. So please make sure you are data privacy and compliant online. The online world as a whole, just some of the stats, just because I just love these stats. We're 8 billion people on the planet, 5.5 billion mobile phones, and nearly 5.5 billion people online, and 5 billion of them on social media. The number that really floors me is 6 hours and 40 minutes per day. So 5.35 billion people spend nearly 7 hours a day online. That's an amazing stat. It's like, get a life. But here, this is what we're doing. This is all what we're all doing. This also means if you're a small mid-cap company, you know where your prospects are and you know how to reach them. They are online, and you reach them via social media. So this is, again, this is incredibly enabling for small mid-cap companies. And we Americans, we think we're online all the time. We're like, this is the online. I've got my phone. No, the USA is to the right of the world average. Now on this chart with all these numbers here, the big blue arrow is the USA. The white band is the worldwide average. So the USA, we're actually to the right, lower down than most. Okay, so especially if you're looking at export, you really need to make sure that your online assets are working hard for you, doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I will talk more about all those after we hear from Robert. So let's hear.
Susanna, I've got a quick question. Is that mostly, do you know the percentage of mobile versus desktop versus laptop? And that percentage?
That's a very, very good question, and it depends enormously on the market. There are markets that we call mobile first markets. These are markets that discovered the internet via their mobile phone. Thailand, for example, Mexico.
Yeah.
So
Nigeria,
Mexicans are
Morocco.
first. Yeah. The USA, Canada, US, UK, Germany are still more desktop than mobile, but I think in 2023, mobile exceeded desktop overall in the world by about 2 to 3. Yeah.
Amazing.
So again, make sure that if you're looking at the Mexican market, at the Indonesian market, make sure that your mobile website is, that the mobile side of your website and your online marketing is absolutely at the top on the form. Anyway, but thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Robert, perhaps we could just tell us a little bit, Small Tap. Small Tap, who is Small Tap? What is Small Tap?
And what do we do? Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll take you, introduce you to Small Tap as a company, and then kind of take you through, our journey into, being an international business through the help with Cecilia and Benjamin, and also with IBT, and then, have an answer any questions. Small Tap is a company that was founded in 2019, and we spent about 3 or 4 years, getting to the point where we could commercialize our product. What Small Tap does is we create a device, you can actually see it behind me, that holds babies in the optimal position for infant spinal taps. And for the infant spinal taps, what they're used for is if a baby comes into, or baby's brought into an emergency department and they have a fever, and doctors don't know why the baby has a fever, one of the pieces of the workup in order to figure out what's happening with the baby is to test their spinal fluid to see if the baby has meningitis, either bacterial or viral. Meningitis can actually kill a human being within 24 hours of contracting it, so it's really important to very quickly and immediately understand whether or not a baby has meningitis. Historically, what doctors have done is they've taken a baby and they put them on their side, and they take their head and they take their face and head and they jam it in between their knees to open up the spine. I'm going to use a little display here with using a doll. So basically what ends up happening is they take this baby, they put them on the side, and then they take the face and they put it in what's called a seat position. They take the face and put it in between their knees, and that opens up the space between the vertebrae so they can stick a needle in their back and actually get spinal fluid out of the baby's back. So they can send it to a lab and test it. Well, that particular technique, and they've been using it for decades, has a very high failure rate. It's about 50% failure rate, and oftentimes those babies need to be admitted and given a course of antibiotics unnecessarily. And so a couple of doctors at Hasbro Children's realized that we needed to create a consistent, repeatable process that has some formality to it. And so they developed and invented a chair. It looks like a little massage chair for babies. And what it does, it actually holds the baby in upright position. So the baby goes in the device, holds the baby in upright position. And the chair actually tips the pelvis. So the chair actually tips the baby's pelvis. So it opens up the space between the vertebrae. And then we hold them across the back of the strap that allows the baby to be very stable and in a very comfortable, stable, repeatable position. And we are now installed at over almost 50 children's hospitals. We've been out about a year and a quarter, and we're actually installed in over almost 50 children's hospitals across the country. And we're seeing a success rate, first tap stick success rate, go from about 50%. With small tap, we're now up over 90%. So we're starting to become almost a standard in the industry, or we're hoping we are becoming a standard in the industry across multiple departments in children's hospitals, ranging from operating system, education department, pediatric ICU, NICU, OR, et cetera. So it's really becoming the new way to do infant spinal taps in hospital. And we're starting to really grow across the U.S. So to kind of put a comma after this, and one of the countries that has really been over the last year pushing hard to have us enter into their market is Canada. And so we had to respond to Canada. I personally didn't know anything about getting into the Canadian market. So I had a very close friend, say, we got to talk to Cecilia Benjamin. So immediately called Cecilia and said, can I come up and meet and spend some time? So we met, and she in a very clear and consistent and open way talked to me about the different steps that I needed to take in order to enter the Canadian market, and then connected me with some real experts in international business. Our site is not an e-commerce site, but it is the key and most important component of our business as we grow, not only in the U.S., but into Canada. And so she connected us with the State Department resources up in Canada, who then also connected us with some distributors, also with Health Canada, and then also in particular with IBT. And IBT was a great resource. It was an incredible resource for us. They were able to look at our U.S. sites, understand exactly how we were trying to communicate in the U.S., how we positioned our product as opposed to saying, hello, here's this great product, buy it. They were able to understand the way we talk to doctors and nurses and clinicians. They were able to almost interpret how we communicated. So they actually improved our U.S. website for the Canadian site, and then also were able to do translation in order to sell in Canada in particular. In Quebec and Montreal and that territory, you actually have to have a French-Canadian site as well as an English site up in Canada. So they worked on, launching that site, creating a much more streamlined, focused, clear website that we'll probably end up, launching in the U.S., using their website in the U.S. to replace our existing website. So we really, really appreciated everything that, Cecilia started and sort of the ball that got us rolling. And we very quickly were able to enter into the Canadian market. We got approved by Health Canada. And now we've got about 20 sales cycles within, a month and a half of launching our website. And we're expecting to get, multiple orders for our product. It also led to the University of Calgary has a venture fund, and they ended up investing $100,000 in our business. So there was all this sort of layered effect of working with not only Cecilia and her team, but also with IBT and their team, and helping us really understand how to, commercialize and get into that market space.
Wow. Robert, thank you so much for the sharing that. And also it's really interesting for us to see the evolution also with the Chaffee Center with Cecilia and her team and how it helps. And we're delighted as well that you've had a good return on investment for such a fast thing. And I think it's really important to, from our point of view, what we see is that companies these days have to have the right online tools for their brand and for their image and for their credibility, because that's what people look at these days. So there's a couple
Susanna,
of questions. Sorry.
Can I add on to that?
Please.
So, as I mentioned earlier, our site is not an e-commerce site. We sell through, specialty distributors. But how we actually leverage our digital site is we attend, probably about 8 or 9 trade shows a year. We do a lot of work with social media, direct email, PR, and all of those different channels of communication. We push them into our website, into this whole screen that talks about contacting us. And so if we go to a trade show, we're often getting dozens of people coming into our site and then clicking on filling out a form, sending that information to us. We have a whole process where we send that lead out to our sales team and they follow up, go in and pitch. So we use our website. One of the things about our website that's intriguing is we actually have the procedure is our landing page. So it's a video of a doctor actually doing an infant spinal tap using the chair, and doctors and nurses get it immediately. They go to our contact page, and then it comes into our inbox, and then we send those out to the sales team. But all those different marketing activities that we do across various channels, again, be it trade show all the way through social, we drive them into our site and use that as an education tool, but also as a sales tool. And it's been just watching how efficient and smooth that is, given the IBT relationship and how they built the site. It's been pretty extraordinary for us. So not to go hyperbolic, but it's really good. It was wonderful to work with them, and it's created this wonderful environment for us. And now we need to do some of the things that Ben was talking about. Some more market research. We need to do SEO optimization. We need to do a bunch of other things to really bring it to the next level. So we're going to be applying, Benjamin, as soon as we can. Probably today.
Good. Sounds like it should be sooner rather than later. I wanted to ask you one more question, Robert, before we go on a little bit and talk about sort of AI and marketing things. Websites, relaunching a website, building a website, designing a website can be an enormous burden. You're running your business, you're full up, you don't have capacity, and then you layer something new on. So the basic question is, how much time, how much management time, what burden is it to do this?
Our initial website for the U.S., I spent literally hundreds of hours building sort of foundational pieces, understanding, going into the hospital, understanding like, what does this procedure and process look like? How do we speak about it? What language do we use? And really did all sorts of research around that and built that site. When Cecilia connected me with IBT, the first thing they did was really dig into the details around some of that research. And it was shocking how quickly they understood exactly what we're trying to do, how they reorganize things, how they tighten up the language, and how they improve the kind of the flow through our site. And so I was expecting to spend, weeks and months on this, and I probably only spent about 10 or 15 hours working with these guys. I mean, it was very quick. It was very efficient. It was incredibly well done. It was really funny too, because, I'm so busy that it's hard to kind of carve out some time. And so they would in very discreet way say, hey, Bob, we need this little piece of information, and once you get that to us, we'll be able to take the next step. So they would be like, just ping me a little bit, and I'd be like, oh, okay, sorry about that, and I'd send information, and sure enough, it'd be done. And so the team was, I know I sound like I'm doing an ad for IBT, but I got to tell you something. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had working with a vendor. They were phenomenal, and it was fast and easy.
Robert, thank you so much. That's a wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much. You made my day. Right?
I'm glad. Well, you made mine. So.
Right. Okay. Great. Thank you. We'll circle back, but let's talk now very quickly about sort of some AI bits. AI is all over the place, but it's also a bit scary. So a lot of small cap companies avoid it. And our view is please don't. Please get in there and look at it. And there are parts of AI which can be incredibly enabling and helpful for someone who's like running their own business and haven't got time. And what we use it for example, is just incredible gains in productivity. Obviously, nothing goes out without human beings looking at it afterwards, but it is a tremendous tool for first drafts, even second drafts of content, of SEO, of keywords, of also what's called social listening, and things. So there's lots of things that we would encourage you to look at. I can do a whole other talk about that if you like, but just a couple of things I wanted to say about digital marketing in particular for that. For the AI-powered digital marketing, it can really help your SEO, your content, and all that translation stuff as well. The translation now is increasingly machine-driven and then proofread by a native rather than doing the whole process. Again, huge productivity gains on this, and we would encourage you to look at certain types of AI. If you want more information about that, please let us know. We're happy to point you in the direction for at least for marketing, online marketing, and website build AI that we use. I wanted also to say a very brief word about e-commerce and so on. Again, e-commerce is something that as Americans, we think we're like online all the time. And again, we're slightly to the right of the worldwide average for this. This is B2C. The graph you have in front of you is B2C. But just remember, B2B is about 3 times the size of B2C. And it is, if you're an engineering company or something, and a lot of engineering companies say, oh, our products are wonderful. We don't need e-commerce. But a lot of companies now do want, perhaps not in small caps case, but a lot of B2B companies now look at ways of saying, how do I have some kind of enablement going on? And since the pandemic, we've really seen that step change for B2B especially. And there's a report that came out from Statista, I think it is, about in-depth B2B commerce showing, if you could just move to the next slide. Hold on. There we go. Sorry. Something like 90% of B2B companies are now shifting to some form of virtual sales. And I don't think this should be a scary thing. I think it should be an enabling thing. I think it should be something that is actually a very interesting way of going about it. And what I pointed out earlier in a sense is you don't have to have a full e-commerce enablement. You don't have to have like it looks like a Shopify site with all the sort of boxes and then add to cart. You don't have to have that sort of thing. You could have something much simpler. But if you have multiple products, for example, very often salespeople go on or a potential client will go on and say, I'd like some of these and some of those and some of those. Request a quote. And this basically ends like a request a quote. And that's what's really interesting. So this is in a sense a sales qualified lead or a market qualified lead that you then hand to your distributor or to your sales team. And what sales team doesn't want a sales qualified lead? So again, I would, if you're in manufacturing, please do. We would encourage you to have a good look at e-commerce. And if you're looking at e-commerce internationally, that local buyer and respecting that local buyer is even more important than in your domestic market. So
Susanna,
really, oh, hi, Cecilia.
yeah, sorry. You're talking about exactly something that I get a lot of questions about, right? When people are growing and when people start getting a lot of orders or some orders from another country, and they say, well, I've been using Shopify for a while and it was working, but now that I'm growing, Shopify is starting to be too expensive. What are the options? And that's a pretty common question. So is it easy to transition, or how complicated it is to transition from Shopify to another platform to
I
sell
think
internationally
I really
or
appreciate that
domestically, I should say?
question, Cecilia, because what we say is if you're going to look at e-commerce, really spend a lot of time figuring out what the best platform is.
Yeah.
Because once you launch yourself on one platform, it is really hard to move to another. And Shopify is great if you're,
Yeah.
two people in the garage, and in 5 years' time, you'll be three people in the garage, and you don't have time for anything else. And that's all. You don't have a tech stack, and that you're keeping it at that level. It's great. But if you're a company with, 20, 30, 50 people, and you're growing, looking to go to 70 people and growing, and you've got lots of different products, don't go with, well, you could go with Shopify, but there's a lot of reasons why you would want to choose something else. And what we would probably recommend is a plugin to your WordPress site called WooCommerce, WOO Commerce, which is developers really prefer it. It's much more plastic, much more able to be modified, much more modifiable, much more able to do sorting, and you design your own. Whereas Shopify is out of a box. You buy Shopify, and Shopify hosts. Shopify shows you the theme. Shopify chooses your colors, how it looks, everything. WooCommerce, you are in control. It's
Yeah.
very different scenarios. Shopify looks cheap. It goes expensive very quickly, very quickly.
And that's exactly what
WooCommerce
I see sometimes, that companies can grow pretty fast. In the faster you grow, the less the time you have to figure out how to sell. But yes, that's what we are sometimes, that people realize, like, wow, Shopify became so expensive, and now we are selling much more, so now it really hurts. And that's when, yeah.
And
Which is a great
you're
problem.
very tied in. They here's who you're gonna your shipment is gonna be with this people or those people. Your payment gateway, here's your payment gateways. That's it. Whereas that might not suit what you want.
Thank you.
So if you want to be in more control, then I would say don't go to Shopify. But if you're going to be like, hi, we're really just, it's a mom and pop, and we're selling in a garage, and we're not really, we're not really doing much more than that over time, then Shopify's great.
And for international sales?
Shopify works for international sales. Again, less well than your own stack, less well than WooCommerce. For example, you can't really have more than one English language website. So if you're a US company and you want to sell to Canada and the UK and Australia, it's going to be very hard to do that with Shopify.
Right.
Unless you have exact replicas, but nobody wants that because the US is imperial and the UK is metric, and you're going to have a lot of confusion on your site for Shopify.
Yeah.
So, so it is really worthwhile diving into this and thinking about it before you do it, before you say, I'm going to go with that one route or the other route. It's really worthwhile. I mean, give us a call.
Yes.
If you want, or talk to people on the web and say, what should I be doing? Here's what I think I'm going to be doing. Here's my cost. Here's my budget. here's my projections over the next 3-5 years. What should I do?
Right.
And
yeah, having those numbers would help determine what's the next step.
yeah. I just want to say for any e-commerce, Robert was talking earlier about the need to know your local buyer persona. So he said he spent hundreds of hours going to hospitals and finding out, and how do the doctors talk about this? How do clinicians, how do pediatricians talk about this, and what do they want, and so on. That's called a buyer persona in marketing. And knowing that buyer persona is really key. And if you're looking at e-commerce, especially so, knowing and respecting that local buyer persona is that important. So just a couple of things. I'm going to go through some of this quite quickly, but you've got the slide deck and the recording as well. From our point of view then, your website, combining that with digital marketing, is really your best sales rep overall. It is where people go to find you. It is where people go to check you out and judge whether you're credible or not. Robert gave the example of going to trade shows, and a lot of people now just have a screen up and they'll be showing their website on, or at least having a QR code that shows the website, and that's what people do. They'll walk around the trade show and they'll look at your website, and then they'll figure out if they want to come and visit you or not. And it's a tremendous tool to give your distributors. If you got a distributor, let's say you got a distributor in Mexico. How does he sell your product? What does he do to sell your product these days? Does he walk around with a sample? Does he, what does he do, in fact? So really worth having a strong website for them. Let's talk about distributors. Let's talk about trade shows. And so I'm going to first talk about trade shows, because trade shows definitely, they're back. And love them or hate them, they are definitely back, but they are very different. We spend a lot of time with our clients really getting the most out of trade shows these days, but they are very different from what they were pre-COVID. There's now almost always some kind of a hybrid or online aspect to the trade show, and people are also interested now in using online tools during the show. So, video explanations, the QR codes, all those testimonials are much more important than they used to be. So we have a little program actually for trade shows that we have for companies, for our clients. It lasts, I think it starts about 10 weeks before the actual trade show, and then it's during the trade show, and then about 3 weeks after. So the entire program is about 14 weeks long. And what we start with about 10 weeks before the event is creating a dedicated landing page for that trade show. So let's say you're going to Arab Health or something like that. Let's say Robert goes to Arab Health in January. We would create a landing page for that event. This is Small Tap Inc. at Arab Health. And all the online marketing, the LinkedIn posts, the advertising, the spread of it for the communication, the buzz you would create bounces to that dedicated landing page. It's a landing page which sits on your website. It's dedicated to a trade show. It can then be modified as you go closer to it. So once you know your booth number, you put that on. And so on, so that it continues to be nurtured and being a real valued place and a direct place for people to contact you during the setup meetings before. During the actual event, there you're using your landing page again. You're using a lot of social media and videos, a lot of videos. So videos is really, I think you're the wrong way. Sorry, wrong slide. Event strategy. There we go. Thank you. So you're using that landing page again, using social media and videos. And videos are literally, again, we do this with our clients before. So they'll take their phone and say, okay, are you arriving at the airport? Show us a video, 20-second video. I've arrived at the airport. I'm setting up my booth. And we take the videos, curate them, optimize them, stick them on the LinkedIn, stick them in we coordinate with the trade show organizer, having all of that, and then geolocate as well as we're going on, because you really want to talk to the people who are within about 20 kilometers of that, or 20 miles of the event at this point. While you're at the event, you want to talk to those people that are around you to get the most meetings. And then the last thing I would say is you need to go to every single party. That's where the networking happens. Obviously having a great booth, and don't forget your QR code, obviously. And again, incorporating that landing page is terrific for getting you the right kind of visits. A lot of the work happens after the event. And after the event, everyone's exhausted. And you come home and you've got like 500 business cards, and it's just exhausting. So all of those email and that what's called a flow, sales flow and funnel has to be created before the event. And then all you're doing is filling in your CRM, and you're filling in the detail. But the drafts are all there, all curated, and you're slicing and dicing your CRM. Cecilia, you're nodding your head. So, yes.
Yes, because I do trainings. I go to a lot of international trade shows and with companies from Rhode Island. And before the trade show, I always have a training about how to maximize your time there. Listen, this is very expensive. We are so lucky to be able to be there, make the most out of it. But I understand people are, first of all, maybe they don't have experience about how to handle all this. Second of all, they're busy. Right? Yeah. They are maybe getting orders, getting questions, making connections in person. They don't have time to do all this. And I push them so much to, maximize it. This is your time to shine. This is amazing. And you are showing everything that you can do. And my question to you, Susana, is how much is this? Right? I'm asking the question that everybody's thinking about. How can we afford this? And
well,
the question for Ben, another question for
use
Ben.
Your step grant.
That's I was going to say that. Ben, can we use the step? Can companies use
the step grant for this?
Yeah, companies can use the step grant as long as it's an internationally focused project. So if it's developing the e-commerce aspect of the website, so companies can take payment or can take orders from international buyers, that's obviously an eligible project. Like Robert said earlier.
What about trade shows, Ben?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, trade shows, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, if you go one slide back, I was looking at that booth, and we do get a lot of questions. People forget that you can use step funds for furniture. See all the furniture you see there, all the graphics. You cannot print, but you can hire a graphic designer to do all those amazing backgrounds that we see there.
Yes, so that would qualify under the STEP program, and it would be as export marketing support because you're designing, exporting marketing support for your booth. So that would be a furnishing for your booth. It would be something that would attract buyers. It would attract people to the show, and it would hopefully connect you with those people. So that would be a project that would be eligible under the STEP program.
And just returning to our side, when we're doing this project for our clients, this is sort of a 14-week, 13-week event, starting before, during, and afterwards, helping with their CRM, their customer relationship management software, whether that's an Excel spreadsheet or Salesforce or HubSpot or Zono or whatever, and that whole email marketing. All of that is a package we give, and basically our objective is an ROI of 5 times the total cost of the total cost of the trade show. So if the trade show total cost, that includes airfares, that includes management time. So not just the subscription of it, but the entire cost of it, let's say is, $20,000, we would expect sales at that show of a minimum 5 times that. That would be an absolute minimum that we would have during that event.
Susanna, can I make a couple of comments?
Please.
There really isn't any other marketing activity that in our analysis we've shown that the lowest cost of sale per lead is absolutely at trade shows, and we go to as many as possible. And we love trade shows and love the cost of sales is low. And you talked about the QR code. Can anybody see this?
I can see your QR code.
And there's our QR code. We did we did some analysis, just look at the analytics, and we were 300x what we normally are, because it's on the front of our booth on our tablecloth, and people are just going right to our website and requesting information. So it's really effective. So thought I'd just make a comment on that.
No, thank you very much. And I think you were at a trade show last week in Las Vegas, no?
Yes, we were.
Yeah.
We were at the American College of Emergency Physicians, and so perfect target for us. And so all the marketing pieces that were put together were really helpful, and it's very affordable and it pays for itself very quickly.
Yeah. No, we trade shows are fantastic if you're energetic and using them. So we love them. Let's move on, because and just two more things that we wanted to say. The first one for us is that it's sort of like a reminder, it's like sort of a duh, of course it is. The single most important asset that any company has is their brand. And for us, that the brand is what actually helps you against price erosion. It actually is the thing that helps you have any kind of perception as well. So, and I'm bringing this up because where we see a lot of brand erosion happens when people hire distributors, and they don't always think it through in the best way. What we see very often is companies giving their URLs, so their websites, in a sense, to their distributors. Please don't do this. Your URL, RhodeIslandExporter.com, RhodeIslandExporter.jp in Japan, or .com.mx in Mexico. Those are very valuable real estate. Don't give them away. You're giving your brand away to someone. So one thing we do a lot with our clients is helping them find new distributors. And again, we would really recommend that if you want to do this, one way of doing it is using web tools to do it. If this is a company, for example, Amsol, it's one of our clients, and they look for new distributors, and they help. They keep in charge of their marketing. They don't let their distributors do their marketing. So we do for example, in Mexico, we do all their marketing for them, and they feed their distributors. So their distributors are responsible for logistics, after sales, implementation, paperwork, and so on. They're not there to market the brand of the company. But marketing the brand is too important. So they keep, this company, for example, keeps control of that, even in the international markets, because your distributor might be fantastic at regulations, after sales, delivery, stuff like that. But are they the best marketeers of your brand? So just want to bring that forward. So here you have a company, for example, they have a master distributor in Mexico, and we generate leads for that master distributor, who then ships it out to the sub-distributors. Worth thinking about. Another way of looking at distributors is how to manage distributors. Managing distributors can be tough, especially if you have a lot of them. Where do you put your data sheets? Where do you put your latest price ranges? Where do you put all that stuff? If you've got different distributors in different places, use your web, use your online tools. And you can even start monitoring your distributors through web tools, which is something we do for quite a few of our clients. And you can say, hey, you know what? That distributor that you've got there in Timbuktu, they're really not doing a good job compared to the others. You might want to think about that. So those are all things that you want to have a thought about in terms of looking at distributors further on. I'm very aware of time, so I'm going to move on. We wanted to leave you with a couple of things, just sort of like takeaways, as it were. And I guess something I've been saying throughout is just making sure that your web assets, your digital tools, are working hard for you. Don't just create them and leave them in the dust. They are what should be pulling you as a small, medium-sized company. They should be the main generator for your brand awareness and for lead generation. So when Robert talks about his QR code, that is a phenomenal testament to how to use web assets at a trade show. Some easy wins internationally. I've already talked about, knowing your URLs. Don't give them away. Don't give them to your international reps. They are yours to keep. What happens if you fall out with that rep? And he's got your name anyway. It's a pain. Make the get in touch really easy. If you're going to Mexico, have a WhatsApp call. If your 1-800 number doesn't work outside the U.S., so don't think it's people going to call you on that. Know that if your international audience, they probably want to contact you via email, via WhatsApp, but probably not by telephone. So make sure that the get in touch is really easy. And then I guess finally for me is focus. If you've got, I've got at least 10 markets I could go to. I've got, 5 different platforms. Focus. What's the lowest hanging fruit? Focus on that one. Build slowly. Don't take a shotgun approach. Doesn't work, especially not in the web. And the last thing I'd say, and this really is cutting the time short, empower your sales and marketing team. Make sure that they, what I would say is that, in a sense, what you need to do is bring that website, bring that online marketing into your sales team, into your weekly meetings. Going to a trade show, put it on the banner. Got a new product launch, make sure it's on social media, make sure it's on your website, bring it in. If you've got a lead, send them something, send them an asset, send them a client testimonial. So there's lots of different things that you can use to nurture the sales funnel. You need a lot of nurture, a lot of building trust to move that buyer persona from awareness into consideration into a purchase over time. Phew. There's lots of things on our website that you can download for free in the resources section. If you have an interest, let us know on that. We've run out of time. I talked too much. I'm so sorry. Cecilia, did you have any other questions?
I was going to say, you don't have to remember all this. If you have a question, give me a call, contact Susanna, contact Ben. Ben has funds at the moment, so now is the time to contact Ben. And yes, we love to talk to people. That if I could, I would do that all day. So I'm here to help.
Thank you very much. And I think an overriding message from Ben was, and from Cecilia was, step grants are out. Don't wait for 6, 7, 8, 10 months. They won't be there anymore. So if you've got an event planned if Robert, if you're going to Arab Health in January, now's the time. Okay, great. I wanted to say a big thank you to Bob, to Robert from Small Tap for sharing the experience, and also for this very kind words and endorsement. We really appreciate it. Love working with the company, although I have to say, I think the account manager, Teresa, she has 2 kids. And she said the video on your thing was so heart-wrenching for her to watch in the beginning. She's like, oh, this baby. So it's quite something.
I really appreciate being involved. I've enjoyed working with all of you.
Thank you very much. And Cecilia and Ben, thank you for everything you do for your exporters. Thank you very much. They appreciate it. We appreciate it. See you all in person.
Thank you, Susanna.
Thank you, Susanna. Thank you, Robert.
Take care, everybody. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.